next up is minutes from last year's meeting.
The minutes have been attached to the handout. If you don't have it, it's in the back of the room. It was also on the website. I don't think I need to read them. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to field them. But that's all I have.
Alright. Motion approved, the minutes from last meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Alright, moving second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Alright. Motion passes. Move on to treasurer's report.
Okay, Rick has the treasurer's report within your packet. The first thing we'll look at is the income statement for June 30th of 2017, which is the end of our fiscal year, so it shows the year ending on the 6/30/17. You can see there we had total income of $81,859.75, which came from rent, membership dues, the Hawaiian raffle, and debt reduction and donation, and then what we took in from the Founder's Day luncheon. Expenses we paid out was rent. We paid Rick for imaging the composites onto the website. We had the Hawaiian raffle. We had the cost from 16 for the grand prize plus all of 17's prize money. What we paid out for Founder's Day luncheon last year, donation to the SIU Foundation in memory of Dr. Arthur, our D&O insurance and our fidelity bond and convention fee, mailing costs that TAJ had for the annual dues notice, our filing fee with the Secretary of State, and then we had the debt reduction that we did with the Bank of Carbondale. And as of June 30th, we had everything paid except for $4,000. Reason it shows a negative net income, that's because we did have money in the bank prior to that. As we go look through this, we'll see where we're coming out of the hole. Anyway, if you look at the next page is our balance sheet as of the end of June. We have three accounts, which basically I have at our bank: the operations account, the rental account. The rental account is where the ACHs from Omega Phi go into it, and I pay Schilling the $3,800 a month for rent. The escrow account is basically the deposit that we have there. The checking account at Petersburg is what TAJ has, where he puts in the dues money. And as of that time, we did have a balance at Bank of Carbondale, $4,000 plus interest, so we had a net worth at the end of fiscal year of $3,020.78. Now, I showed the last 6 months on the income statement, so as of the calendar year end of 12/31, for the last 6 months, we had total income of $33,250.11. Most of that's rent income, a little bit of dues income, and some debt reduction, and the 60-day challenge, which we'll need to recognize Brother Hobner for coming up with that, and that helped with the debt reduction too. So we got income of $33,250.11. Of course, we had rent payment. We had Steve White. I think that was a little bit left over from that summer meeting that we had. Rick's story a little bit on something we sent out Christmas, and then we reimbursed the active chapter for the deposit on one of the rooms where we were short. I think we had one less person in there than what we had. We only had 11 instead of 12, so we reimbursed them on that. And we also paid or reimbursed for the hall rental for tonight. We had Bank of Carbondale where we paid off the note, $674.98 of interest, $4,000 principal, and we overnighted the payment down there, so it was $23.75. Total expenses of $28,753.56, and we had a net income of $44.96.55. And then if you turn over and see where we were as of the end of the year, we had, assets of $11,619.05 with 0 liability, so we had a positive net worth. So we're almost getting to the point where I'd almost make us a loan now. Almost. If you wanna know where we're at as far as of yesterday, we got assets of, right at 24,000. That's not including some extra money Rick just gave me for the Hawaiian raffle. And estimated expenses for the raffle of about $43.50 I come up with. So we've got a net worth right around $20,000 as of today.
All right, got a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I shall move.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, motion is moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Passes. Move on down to the chapter update.
Alrighty, I'm gonna start off the chapter report. I'm gonna go over just a few of the accomplishments and stuff that we had from this last year. We did for the 5th year in a row, took home first place trophy for the homecoming float, and we just wanna give a thanks to Jake Rendelman for letting us use his shed again. And we also had 18 members on the dean's list last semester and 15 this semester, so we're proud of that. During our annual Shot at Life trap shoot, we raised another $5,000 that we did give to St. Jude's. We had 6 new members last fall and 2 this spring, and most of those guys from last fall are now holding positions on the EC. We helped with a big muddy obstacle run in Murfreesboro. It was the first annual one. We helped set it up, run it, and get that running smoothly. And that was just one of the big things that we helped. We kept our presence known throughout the community with a lot of community service like we do every year. Kind of looking forward, we currently have 32 active members and 2 new members this semester. And going back to the Shot at Life trap shoot in Butler is planned for April 14th this upcoming. So we also have 2 people holding seats on the Interfraternal Council. Evan McDaniels is the finance, and Jake Wagner.
Education and resources.
And that's a new seat that they just came up with, isn't it? So that's really all I have that recaps this last year. Most important things. Just want to thank everyone for being able to make it out to the meeting, and we look forward to talking to you tonight at the banquet.
Any questions for the chapter? All right, move on over to the advisor.
All right. Well, I know you've heard a little bit about the reorganization, and I can tell you I'm just a lowly faculty person, so I know really nothing. But I may not necessarily fall in line with some of the positive vibes that you've heard up here. I want you to recognize the significance of the meeting today. This may be the last time we'll meet in the College of Agricultural Sciences as a Beta Alpha unit of the Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity. Things are changing pretty rapidly. I don't know if you've seen the latest proposal things, but there are some political implications here, Greg, that I think concern me greatly. But we'll get through it. We'll get through it. It's not a big deal. That's an internal fight, and you guys are external people. We'll still be here for our programs. I'm not going anywhere. It's what it is. But you know, sometimes the fight gets taken out to the living room when it really should be left somewhere else in the basement. Unfortunately, this one's out in the living room. I can tell you right now, the 34 gentlemen in here, I am extremely proud to be their faculty advisor. We have, for the second consecutive time, been the highest GPA here. We've had 15 individuals last semester in this group that attained Dean's List qualifications at each of their colleges. So I think their ability to continually show leadership and attain that leadership potential is absolutely stunning, and I witnessed it 2 weeks ago. Dr. Farish, who's a new hire in our Hospitality and Tourism Administration program, and I We're working closely with Rhiannon. We had a gentleman give a sizable foundation to donation in order to start a new registered student organization called Smokin' Dogs, right? We had about 10 or 11 AGR guys at this initial meeting who are all interested in taking an executive position in this new registered student organization. And this organization, what we've done with the funds, we purchased a 40 square foot commercial smoker from Old Hickory that resides on a dual axle trailer. And the idea with Dr. Farish is we're going to start student competitions in barbecue. And so he wants to train up. Dr. Farish has a very unique background too. He spent 10 years running one of Mike Mills' Las Vegas restaurants. So he knows, he and Mike are like brothers. So we're gonna go out and actually have Phil, their pit masters, train us for the initial part, get everybody who's involved in that club to be certified to serve food in Illinois. And the idea is it will be self-sustaining in the fact that you can then be hired. So if someone wants to have a party, you guys will have the list on, okay, we'll sell it to you for $7.50 a plate, tell me the number of plates and we'll bring the trailer and serve it at your house. And that's kind of the plan. And then once we get that rolling, we should be able to have enough funds then to initiate you guys to travel to Memphis in May or the Murfreesboro cook-off like they'll have next year in September, because it's an annual event. That's kind of the idea. We want to increase some of that opportunity, some of that visual kind of approach for food management. And unfortunately, HTA will now be in the College of Business, and Dr. Farish and I'm hopeful we'll continue this kind of relationship. But that's one of the things that kind of gets me a little bit fired up about this reorg. Because from my perspective, and I may be totally wrong, we have autonomy as a College of Agriculture here, and we are good at what we do. And it looks to me like they're taking the wheels off of one thing that's actually functioning the way it's supposed to in this university. But I have yet to have the chance to grab the chancellor by the ear and kind of explain that to him in a direct manner, but that's okay. I'm just a lowly faculty member. So that's kind of the way that is going to go. Really excited to see that new outreach and innovation opportunity with that registered student organization. With the 12 gentlemen that were there, I spoke with Dr. Farish. I've been friends with him for quite some time. He was overwhelmed with the excitement and the opportunity that you guys brought to him. Because he's like, man, I'm just a hotel guy. And all these ag guys come up and they're asking me questions. They're all interested. I'm like, hey, that's who they are. So that was extremely, extremely good. On March 31st, me and the entire EC will be meeting out at my lake. We're going to sit down and have another one of those planning and organization meetings that we do annually. And I think that has served well for us to kind of coagulate, come up with the same story, and get some directionality to the executive committee. And I welcome that. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Two questions. You touched ever so slightly on the chancellor. We live 200 miles from here, and we read in the newspaper his situation with hot water.
Yes.
I'd like for you to touch on that just for a moment, and then I understand that it's what you can do and what you can't do. Number two, our past dean talked about a recycling project that he talked about at length 2 or 3 different times. Whatever became of that?
Was that the compost?
Yeah.
I know he got grants. They made a new compost facility at the farm. It's pretty nice. It's got underfloor aeration and the whole ride. That all came from the Green Fund on campus. Now, what that didn't come with is a faculty line or some line for oversight all of the time. So I think the college is bumping up the cash to get a master's student to work out there. But to be honest with you, I've kept that at more than an arm's length, because around here, if you show a little bit of interest, you're gonna own it. And I own enough. I don't want any more. So I can't speak to how that's all gonna come about, but I am encouraged. Greg's gonna be the co-chair of this farms committee, and I think that's an area that I will embrace, because I think I've been here 20 years. I know a couple of people. I think I have a pretty good idea on how we can move that forward. And I'm excited for that. That could be really good. That could be really good. Now, his other troubles, I don't know.
Well, my concern is, when I read that resume, I'm thinking, this guy really, really looks good. How could we have this little bump?
I'm probably not the right guy to answer this.
That's
because,
fine.
you know, most chancellors since I've been here have a half-life of about a transfer student with 42 credit hours coming in the door, okay?
That's what I'm looking at, and I'm thinking, I looked at that resume and I'm thinking, this guy looks like manna from heaven. Is he gonna be with us a year or 5 years or
And that's my greatest concern,
for
because
summer?
Because if I have a flat tire, I don't drain the oil out of my car and I hope to change it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
address the tire.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know.
I was really hoping you were gonna say something, Chris.
Well, I'm just not that kind of guy, I guess. You know, I'm just gonna give it to you straight, because that's all I know. And again, I'm a lowly faculty member. I don't participate in the highbrow discussions, and I'm not that smart. So, you know, I just do my job. And I don't know. I know what I hear. I know what I see. And you know, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, probably not a great date. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Dr. Epgar?
Yes, sir.
Let's pursue this just a little farther. You shared some numbers with me when we were talking a while ago. You know, I mentioned earlier that I think the chancellor is open to some comments, suggestions, and thoughts if we were, you know, on a track that, you know, it makes sense. But you mentioned this hospitality and stuff, and I think you were saying that we're gonna lose about half, about 200 students or so.
250 to 3, yeah.
Okay, so somebody who's on the grassroots, ground floor, lowly faculty member like you, classify yourself, I'm sorry, you've been here longer than that. You see a bigger impact in that.
Yeah, I do, and
It's. And when you showed your chart there, I mean, they're redoing the colleges, but then we become one of 3 schools.
that is correct.
So, number-wise, what is that meaning?
I would find it difficult for us to have another dean with an agricultural background if we are one of 3 voting bodies. If the rules for instituting deans remains the way they have always been at an academic institution. Because we're against earth science and natural sciences, and the School of Biology is essentially the College of Science put together. So the tenure track, new numbers of votes will be at a minority, significantly. And what I think the chancellor's plan has done, he's removed department chairs, which generally those fights happen in department chairs within a college. So we want a position, forestry wants a position, our 2 chairs get in there and they argue with the dean, and the dean has to make a decision on what they're going to do. And so it's kind of that competitive thing. At this point, we have no department chairs, and every program in here, save the 2 in my department, except for human nutrition, dietetics, and hospitality tourism administration, they're going somewhere else. That's the 300 students. We'll all be in one school. So that means we have to play this differently. Because among the 3 programs as a chair down there, you would have one opportunity for a job or a new position, and you would have to say, okay, does it belong in human nutrition, hospitality, or animal science? What's the best return on this kind of an investment, and then sell that to the dean. Now we're gonna have to have that conversation among all of the programs in this college, because we're now one school. So we almost have another bureaucratic level that's been inserted, because then that director of the school is going to be the one who presents it to the dean of the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences. And that, we're gonna have one of 3. I've put forth 2 different versions trying to make at least 2 schools in here that would have an agricultural culture, okay? Because that would make it 2 versus 2, and then I'd feel a little more confident that we'd have the voting power that we might need. I've never even received confirmation that they received my suggestions. So I don't know how that all works. I hear a lot of things about how, he works well, but I think he works well when he's at the end of a very hot smoking group of alumni, and perhaps not when he hears something from the inside. There's a different value there. And that's totally appropriate. But that's what concerns me, and that concerns me greatly. Now, that doesn't matter for you students, you guys are gonna get out of here. We're well connected, we get people good jobs. We have the #1 vet school placement in our department down here across the university, so we do what we do appropriately. And that will continue. But on the other side, we might have some bloody fingers on, looking at the other side. That's how it goes. Any other questions? All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, Mike, you got anything to add to it as an advisor?
No, I mean, I do wanna, tell the guys, how proud I am to be the alumni advisor. When I started stepping into this role 2 years ago, I wasn't really sure what I was getting into, but, you as alumni and the alumni board, I don't know, if you guys really know how me and Dr. Apgar feel about our chapter, but we're extremely proud of the things that they achieve yearly. I attended an advisor forum at the National AGR headquarters in Kansas City last fall, and I was pretty amazed how high we rank across the chapters in the U.S. with our GPA, how much we do. There's a ton of awards that we need to be applying ourselves for. And it's something that we as a chapter are working towards. We haven't really ever applied for them before, so it was new to us, but we're one of the more successful chapters across the country. And I think it's very, very important that you guys know that. I want to see our chapter and our alumni do more together, recognize each other, support each other better, and I think the more you guys know about how successful we are and our alumni as a whole, I think that's an important relationship, and I hope we can continue to build that. But I really don't have a lot to add besides that. So.
Next, recognition.
Yeah, I didn't have a ton of these, but I did pass around a sheet that Rick, once again, this guy needs accolades. He's taken us down the road. Rick Story, head up, Rick. He's taken us years down the road with a lot of things that we're doing. I don't want to take anything away from anybody that's had a part of it. Tom Meyer and Don Neff and all the people that have worked, but it's come together. And that website that is out there, everything's there. You just gotta spend a little time to go there. One of the things that's there, and we have this Founder's Day meeting, the words, I think, speak to itself, Founder's Day, and those that have gone before us that have paved the way. And when you stop and think, 1962, LEAC, LEAC got started, and they kept the faith, and they continued to strive, and finally in 1970, we were able to go, AGR. My life as a student was not AGR, but the principles of AGR were all the way through LEAC, and I think the others here. So this is the time of year that it presents us a memory. This year, we lost 3 members. Their names there, we don't have the dates on a lot of them, we're building that, but you've got right the right-hand column there, James T. Manningly, Larry DeSuter, and Dan Winans passed away in this past year, 2017. So if we could just have a moment of silence in memory of them, we appreciate it. Thank you, Rick.
All right. Well, we've been hearing a lot about the website and Facebook. You want to touch bases, give a report on that?
Sure. How in-depth do you want me to go with this, Rick? Are we gonna do it at the end? Show the website, or just,
Yeah, I think that, why don't we get through the meeting?
and then do that at the end? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Works. All right.
That'd be good.
That's something we know is really going to Dev after lunch too.
Okay, yeah.
So, all right, that brings up the foundation's report.
I think Steve was gonna maybe expand on that foundations a little bit.
What's that?
Expand on foundational work, or maybe you covered that already.
Well, I did make a couple more comments. I did cover that a little bit, but, you know, we've tried to come up with a way of generating scholarships. Chuck Eagler and Rendelman and several others for years.
The old guy right there.
And Al, this old
That
guy
big
here,
guy.
have talked about, getting, you know, scholarships made available. And, we've worked toward that, and once we got the debt paid off, and you heard Jim's, treasury report, now we can start putting money into funds to generate scholarships, so we can also, take money out for, leadership training for the active chapter, other, opportunities. So this past fall, we were able to generate 2 foundation accounts, one at the AGR National. We have to have at least $25,000 into that account before we can start getting some proceeds out of that. And as I mentioned earlier, that's the reason we went ahead and created an SIU foundation account, so that we can start some immediate activity of providing scholarships or other things that are needed. So we're gonna start with a campaign somewhere along the way to raise some money to fund both of those accounts. We were fortunate we came up with enough money to provide 2 $500 scholarships at the All Ag banquet last night. And so that was a step in the right direction. Now, we want to expand that some way, whether it be for the active chapter, for scholarships or whatever, but that's to be determined. But anyway, we've taken that first step forward, and we have the 2 accounts established. And I can point out that this, and I mentioned it earlier when Rhiannon was here, when this one day of giving comes out, you can donate to that specific account. It's the Beta Alpha Alumni Association account, and there is an account number. I think Rhiannon left some notes back there as how you get on and can do that. So, any questions, Bill?
Is there matching funds that come from national? If somebody says, okay, I want to X number of dollars towards a scholarship, do they match anything?
Not that I know of, Rick, not from the national or anything.
Might be able to do something. To expand on that just a little bit, the national is different in that, it's more of an endowment concept.
Yeah, it's an endowment, so that's the reason there's a $25,000 minimum. You can't start getting money endowed out of that, or money out of that endowment account until we reach that. And they normally will provide like 4% out of it. With the SIU, they have an endowment also, but they also have the flexibility until we get up to that amount to be able to take money out. So we went to both foundations because we have some flexibility here at SIU.
So you have to maintain that 25,000?
Once you get it in the AGR National, my understanding is that money will never be drawn down. You will only take money out of what it earns. Like the 4%, what it may, if it earns 6%.
So if you want $1,000 gift.
Or 10%, then the residual after the expenses will go back in to build that account, but you can only use like 4% of it.
So the 4% come from interest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Earnings on it.
So the question, why we give it to national, not just have our own account?
Why
Well,
are
it's a
we-
third, it's a
Why are we
301C.
setting up with a national, not just having our own account?
There's quite a bit of paperwork that goes into it with our own foundation. We tried that several years ago, and it just doesn't work. You've got administratively,
Yeah,
as well as
it
being able
comes
to get
down
more-
to you need about a 50% time person to manage that account, whether it has any money in it or not. The paperwork is just staggering, and so it's easier to use, Kansas City. Now, a couple things about it, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, or at length for some of you younger guys. We've talked about it to the degree that we should have an objective. And the objective should be maybe 100,000, maybe 200,000. Now, you can actually do other things with that money, but you have to ask for a special dispensation to do that. So, and that is put in place to be a roadblock, so somebody doesn't go in, a board, and say, hey, we want to draw out $10,000 for a lottery, you know? This is specifically for scholarship. Now, Steve and I and several of us have talked over a period of time. The fellow from Farm Credit, who was with us last night, lives about 5 miles from me. And now we have 2 AGR scholarships, and we have 2 Farm Credit scholarships. And I would suggest to you that over a period of time, we expand this. And we had 2 good candidates last night. They are outstanding candidates. We can increase that if we have the cash, and we can own that banquet. And the question is, do you want to own it? Craig Webb says we do.
So you said it was 2 AGRs,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah,
At the banquet.
yes, and 2 Farm Credit
These were funding.
Scholarships.
Oh,
I got it.
scholarships.
There's 4 scholarships.
So what scholarships are in place for our membership?
Right now, there's none.
Why?
We can do that. We're too young. We don't have any money. Or we do have
Well,
some.
why don't we have money?
Well, you write a check and we'll make it good. That's all there is to it. I mean, it really
I'll make
isn't.
you a deal, I'll write one, you write one.
I've already written a couple big ones.
Bill, your point's well taken, and we did have scholarships established. You might recall names like Ron Claypool
Yeah.
and those kind of things. As the evolution, things have been lost, as we had debt, we didn't have the money, the alumni's been scrambling for that. There is some reimbursement for some scholarship money from the national, and that's initiated by the chapter. But we want to get to where we are consistent in doing this and not haphazard. And this endowed program with the National AGR Foundation, 2 things. It gives us a better return, and it endows the money, and it'll never be lost from our name. It is a separate account established for us, however, invested in a pool.
Right.
And so you get the leveraging resources of all the money.
So the question I have, why do you not reach out to, if you'll say, private, and say, okay, we need a scholarship fund for our membership?
That's a simple answer. We have been trying to get this put in place for probably 15 years, 20 maybe, but there's been debt, there's been all kinds of small problems. Now we finally have got that resolved. Some of us put money together for those scholarships last night, and we're gonna do that again, but that's just our jumping off point. We don't have enough money at Kansas City to fund
No,
anything else.
I understand Kansas City, but what I'm saying is a separate scholarship or somebody to fund a scholarship just specifically for our membership. And says, okay, every year I'm willing, somebody's willing to step up, say, okay, here is X number, hundreds or thousands of dollars to fund this.
We just haven't grown to what you're saying. And we understand what you're saying, we wanna do that. But we're trying to really jump off at the school level and at Kansas City so we can bring that money back and use it for our own people.
I
No,
think in a year we will, Bill.
See, we just got this started in December, so.
No, okay,
But we can do it, and that's our objective.
my point, I keep going back, that's one piece.
Sure.
Another piece over here as an individual
Sure.
or a business enterprise, okay, they're willing to step up every year and give X number of dollars to a scholarship for our membership.
Right,
Nothing to do with national.
right. We just haven't gotten that far.
The thing that's critical about that, Bill, is having the 501c3 tax deductible status, and that's what these 2 foundations afford us to do.
So what you're telling me, if somebody says, okay, there's an individual that's willing to say, every year I'm gonna give $5,000 to a scholarship for the brother, that can't be done.
For the house, $5,000 for the house?
No, for a scholarship for a brother,
Yeah.
an active brother, you can't do that?
Bill, let me answer that one. Rules from the university is, if you give a scholarship on campus and an on-campus event, that money has to come through the foundation.
SIU
Now,
Foundation.
Yes, SIU Foundation. That's the rule. If you want to take an outside event off campus and give something like that, then you can do it. But if you want to do it at a university function, it has to go through the SIU Foundation. Even money, if we were to give money to a scholarship given at the All Ag banquet, and it was to come out of the funds at the AGR national account, it would still have to be go through the foundation.
Okay, so, that's the ag banquet. So let's talk about Founder's Day banquet. Is that considered a school function?
If it's off campus, it's not a university function, we can do it.
So why are we not doing that?
We just got started in December. We're gonna put together a marketing plan to raise some money. With that, we'll put some plans together that how we're going to do some of these things you're talking about.
Hey, Steve, is the stuff that goes through the SIU Foundation, does that have to be awarded like the Alumni Bank, or can that be awarded at our stuff?
I think it could be awarded as our stuff.
Okay, so maybe that's kind of what Bill's getting
Yeah, I
to
mean,
on
if it goes to the
that.
foundation, we can still take it off campus and.
Okay. Somebody can still go through there, and we can actually ask for money back out of that.
It's basically
to
our
give us
money to go there, and that's the flexibility of the SIU Foundation account.
I think that's probably what he's getting at on that.
So how much is in Kansas City?
It's gotta be, right now, it's gotta be close to 7,000. There's been some memorial checks go in there
So I'm hearing I can't
recently.
do that?
I think there was 59, and there's been some additional checks go. I think it's right about 7.
Okay.
I hold it.
And we've done that in what, 4 months or so?
Yeah.
So maybe a year from now, we'll have the 25. And then, right now in Kansas City, we think we've got like 7,000 in there. And that's after 4 months. And we're hoping a year from now, there'll be the 25 in there. And at that point, we can go back to the chapter with a scholarship because you get your 4% on the 25. We can do that. If the number was 40 or 50 times 4%.
Jeff, I understand that. I'm trying to understand from an individual standpoint, or from an individual company standpoint. It's okay. This company said, you know what, brotherhood, there's a scholarship offered by XYZ company every year for $5,000.
Yep.
That can be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only need to know.
And there's a couple ways you can do that.
I'm not a big national.
Yeah, but there's several ways you can do that. We can establish a separate foundation account. You can do it separately, from your own funds directly to the individual. Or you can go through this account and then designate that.
Alright, wanna touch bases on volunteer dues?
Okay, well, I've got as far as volunteer dues, the last update I had from Taj, had a balance of $7,072.28 in the account that he received mainly for dues. That's including the check I mailed.
Do we send out yearly notices on that?
Yes.
Yeah, Taj has been sending those out, anything out in January.
Those are snail mail.
Yeah, I think I just got mine like a week ago.
You got mailed?
I mailed mine in, I mailed mine to him, and I got about a week later, I got some.
Oh, I've never seen that. I remember going over to your place.
Those are mailed out, your address is current, you got one in the mail.
There's also a way through the website, you can also pay them online now too, if you felt like it. We have that established.
And I put a link in every newsletter of how to click on it to pay.
I got some questions though. Of course, like for money for this, the house, and all that stuff, I mean, that would probably come up soon. Like how many members, I mean, there's 900, but like, actually, how many do you think would really give like $100 or $500 or something like that? Is there 100? I mean, how many, like I'm on the back a couple times, I mean.
You're getting about 120 to 140, members
Every year.
on an average, contributing to the voluntary dues.
Yeah, I lost it, like, I'll probably do that. But what I'm saying, all this, it almost seems like this net worth of 11,000, all that. You got all these people that are making, you know, cost of college. And so a lot of people make a lot more money, maybe it's based on tax return, whatever it is, but even if, say, 100 people, you know, a car repair might cost you $500. If I knew everybody else was gonna give $500, you multiply it out by 140, you got a lot of money. You know, that's a lot for, I just said, as Bill said, giving our, you know, private, I mean, individual fraternity, more like the Lee Act, or us now, maybe you have to pay the $25,000 so you can keep the national attention. But if you could get, you know, there was a plan, I think, even I think it was through our years that at one time you were gonna ask people with more money, with 3,000, 2,000 as a building fund and stuff, you know, like.
Well, we had a couple of campaigns going on
Yeah.
where we needed to pay down debt.
Yeah.
And they did, there was a core there of about 18 people that paid $1,000 a year for 5 years. And we got that taken care of.
But anyway, I was just saying as an incentive too, if some people have extra money, maybe you could go, maybe you could put their name on a plaque or something, you know, just show it. All I'm saying, but there was ways with the volumes of people, that with 11,000, it's almost like a household income, you know, I realize there's a lot of different debts, but I'm saying, but you could get a little bit from life, say you got 500 apples, go back and say,
Yeah.
do a lot like that.
Alright, I wanna,
Hawaii raffle, today at lunch, we will have the drawing. It's a little more appropriate to do it at our luncheon time rather than, at the banquet time because, a couple of reasons. You know, half of our crowd at the banquet is not into this, meaning our dates and our guests and stuff like that. So we'll be drawing this at noon today at our luncheon over at 17th Street. And they're $25 a ticket. You can still buy tickets. So far this year, we've collected $7,750. And there's some cash not accounted for, probably a couple $100 that I just gave Jim a little while ago. So it's been a good run again. You know, I went back and looked. I think we've done this about 12 years now. I couldn't get the original date exact, but I think it's been about 12 years, and I just want to thank all of you for participating. It's been significant. It's given the edge to what we need. And basically, we talked about this money being the operating money after the payment. Jim mentioned, you know, we got a liability of about 4,000 plus on this. By the time we pay for the raffle, give the $10 or give the 10 prizes back and the second prize. So, you know, about $3,000, $4,000 is what we net out of it. Thank you.
My comment on the raffle is I see all the checks when they come to me to be put in the bank, and I see names of people that I went to school with that I haven't seen here for a function or anything, but yet you see them and I'll either see them on Tad's dues list, or I'll see them with the $50 check to for the 2 tickets that Rick sends them, so they are staying in touch and everything like that. It's kind of nice to see. I make copies of all the checks in case, I need to find out where so-and-so is, you know, and if we need to go back on somebody, I mean, I can always find out through Rick if we have an address or something.
So on that point, and not to get into people's knickers, but do we have people that are voluntary dues contributors that do we have people who support the raffle who don't do voluntary dues? You think
Yes.
they see that as their way of contributing back?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And getting something for it, I guess, you know.
Right.
Raffle off a couple of
Next topic.
alright. That, move on down to old business. Talk about some of the 18. Alright.
We need it. Your thoughts?
Alright, an old business, starting to think about last time was talking about the summer meeting of 18, this summer meeting. Any real thoughts from anyone specific? modify it
what
very
business
quickly.
it was. I mean, there's people, I understand, business.
Yes.
You have a date set for that? Yeah.
There is, in the past, it's always kind of been around July, June, so it's fully open.
I know on the conference call, we talked about making sure that, we get a date set, so our summer meeting down here doesn't conflict with it. We haven't set a date for this yet, but I'm just, whenever we do get a date, we'll make sure it doesn't conflict like it has in the last couple of years.
What has worked really good at a summer meeting if someone just kind of volunteers to take the lead and put it together with whatever facilities they might have in their area and make a presentation to the board or to this group right here. I mean, we've had people offer, parks and their own backyard and their farm and picnics and golf outings, et cetera, et cetera. Last year, we piggybacked off of SIU's event at Beck Seed in Effingham. That was talked about yesterday a little bit, that the Ag alumni are still planning on doing something there. But it's really the opportunity of somebody to just share a little bit of effort to bring us together. Do you remember the date that they were talking yesterday about the alumni?
What Susan told me is they would like to see what we're gonna do for a summer meeting. If we go someplace different, they might like to try to piggyback again with that. Or they could go back to Beck's and if we don't get any volunteers, I mean, we can go back to Effingham again and I can arrange for the winery again. Or have other events.
No big creative ideas. When's the chapter normally, what's your target that you train?
Know when it was last year exactly?
Yours was the same weekend as ours,
The 19th.
Oh,
this
yeah.
weekend.
Yeah,
That second weekend in July.
it's the same exact weekend.
Right, that's what we wanna try to avoid.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be in favor of going to Waco, Texas, but, I don't know, that might be a little too far.
Shoot his AR-15.
Hey, we used to go to a ball game, we used to do something around a Cardinal ball game, Cubs ball game, something like that. We used to have some great summer meetings over in St. Louis. I've been to a couple at Doug Wood's place. Remember that? Up in, Shelbyville.
Like Shelbyville.
Well, we were hoping to stimulate a little discussion here. I don't know anything other than what Steve brought up as to what you think about that. Sometimes when you repeat something, second time around doesn't go too good.
The only other thing about, summer meeting, I went to one, this year, Decatur. I had to go like 180 miles like that, but that's not that, is there you always have separate ones? I mean, I thought there was just one, and then they had one in Effingham. They're not that far apart, Decatur and Effingham. I don't see.
You're talking about one of the district meetings we
One
had?
big one for the whole, not just area.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about on this.
Maybe like Springfield.
Yeah, it's an entire fraternity summer meeting,
Yeah.
like we used to have, bring us together in summertime.
Yeah.
We were also having what's called district meetings or group meetings. We've had some of those in the past too.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Why do the actives have their summer meeting? We're talking about alumni summer meeting.
And bonding thing. You just get together as a
Yeah,
It's just a reason for everyone to get back down here and see each other when we haven't for a while. It's just a little meeting.
usually when the active chapter, it's also kind of combined with a lot of the other sororities and fraternities all have a summer meeting within about a few days of each other, so usually the whole Greek community kind of gets together for it, so. yeah, our chapter has one, but it's not just them all coming down.
So it's kind of a Greek, all
It's
Greek
kind-
function on it?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yep, yes and no.
So, Richard,
Yes.
you know, on the subject of summer meeting, I kind of go along with Rick Hyatt's observation that, you know, once is great, twice might feel like old hat. And to the extent that Rick's story has enlivened kind of where we all are, I'd like to think about that we could look at where we've got patches of brothers and try to recruit then, you know, so that if we're in Anawan or we're in Kankakee or we're in Peatone or wherever we are, Sullivan, that we could recruit somebody to, because there's enough people there to say, let's host this for one time. Because I think moving it around the state will allow more of our brothers to have an activity within the AGR. Because the realities are that here we get 15 or 20, maybe 30. But if you kind of move that around the state, it just gives, and we're pretty much the same people oftentimes. But if you move it around the state, it gives people a chance to say, I don't have to drive 100 miles for to see an AGR. So I think we really ought to be studying where do we have that group of brothers, and then let's just lean on them to make something happen, because I think moving it around the state's the right way to go about this.
So there's the breakdown of,
Are they by county?
by county and then by state other than Illinois. So if you look through, 1 through, 11, it's Illinois, it's the breakdown of Illinois, and the amount of people in each. From 12 down are the other states. So if you focus on that, and then what we can do is if we want to focus on one particular area here, we can actually go to the map and see the amount of people in that area.
He has, for sure he has. Yeah, no, it's great. There we are.
So from this point, we can actually look at where the majority of the people are. We could back out a little here too.
So Decatur's got quite a density.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Looked to me like your biggest count was 71 in what was called a northwestern central.
Well, here, let's go. This one here had 92. Central Illinois had 92.
Okay.
And then, so that was probably the most what we were just
Oh, I
looking at.
missed that, yeah, okay, I was looking at that
Really,
71.
north, central, west.
Yeah, that's 71. You got a south central. So you can kind of go on this map here and go to any particular area and see where the population is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then you can actually click on a specific person there and see who it is, all their contact information, phone numbers, addresses.
Yeah.
Is that current?
Everything is
Yes.
current.
Yes.
So it's gotta be,
Everything is current
As
if
long as you
people have
report
given
in.
me information.
because some of it might be like
Yeah.
when that person was in the house and that's their parents' home and they've moved away since then.
If
That's
they
their
didn't
last
tell
known
me,
address.
it'll be
Yeah.
whatever it used to be, and I've had that.
Their
That's-
last home of record.
Yes. So this is, this is something that can be very useful for people to go on and look to see where our brothers are, different states even. You can look and you can do searches. I don't mean to get into too much detail here, but you can come here and search on anything you want. You can search on last names. So let's come back here to the all map, right up here. And if you want to find a specific person, it's a database. So you can come in here, there's the United States where everyone is. And you want to look for one particular person. I want to search by last name, find story. There he is, there they are. My brother's in there too. So then you can actually come in and see where people are located, actually find people.
Jack Grease now.
the laptop too much.
Well,
I hate this
here's the
thing.
whole thing about the summer meeting, but piggyback off what Greg said, that's what we need to move around. We had a lot of success in that. But what it takes is just somebody willing to take
Right.
one time,
Yeah.
1 year, 1 summer,
Right.
and say, hey, I'm gonna
Right.
put 2 or 3 brothers together
You bet.
and organize this, let's do it, okay? And so, what I have found is that if you ask somebody, yeah, I'll do it. You know, people in this fraternity don't tell you no, unless they just absolutely can't, but they just have to be asked. Well, we'd like to think that representatives would come to this meeting and, you know, step up and say, you know, I could do that for a year or whatever. I like to go to St. Louis to the ballgame. We gotta find somebody to do it. There you go, Chairman. Huh? Get the Pleddies to do it? There you go. Right. There you go.
So Rick, what's the average number of people that come back to summer meetings?
How many?
Yep.
What do we have, 20 last year?
25 or so, maybe last year.
Anything?
20, 30.
More than that.
Did we?
Probably closer to 40.
Oh,
Go ahead, put that into spouses.
Spouses, yeah.
we kind of pumped that up a little bit. We burnt that note at the fireplace.
Yeah.
We burnt that note, buddy.
Does anyone want to volunteer info? Alright, well,
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the board solicit these areas on the districts and make a pitch to somebody, a brother in that area to recruit a committee for summer meeting. Maybe leave the site undetermined at this point, but leave that to the direction of the board to find a host or a group of hosts.
okay.
With the idea that we need to think about how to move that around the state each individual year.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Alright, second, any other discussion on it, or? Alright, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Alright, motion passes.
I'd like to make a comment too, the active brothers are welcome to
You
come to
bet.
the
Yes.
summer meeting
You
too.
bet.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
If we get one scheduled somewhere, and hopefully it doesn't conflict with the date with your retreat and whatever, that, you know, all you guys are invited to come.
Alright. Also, discussed last year at the meeting of planning of the 50th anniversary, which is only 2 years away. May seem like a while, but it's not that far.
I'm gonna take responsibility for this. I keep putting this on the agenda. You've had it on here for the last 3 years. And I'm telling you, this could be one big party and one great event. I don't have any of the details, just got a ton of ideas, but I think it's not too late. If you, okay, just think about this. You could bring in some significant, national AGR brothers to this event as invitees. Certainly our national office, certainly some politicians, certainly your deans of your college here, maybe, faculty. I mean, this could be huge. The only thing I can tell you that is in motion in the book is to have the celebration here in Carbondale. That is the one thing that was put on a motion in the minutes a couple of years ago, is maybe it was like to make it in Carbondale. But we don't have the committee, we don't have the leadership, and we don't have the planning. And something like this isn't gonna happen overnight. You gotta plan, cause you gotta reserve places, dates, all that kind of stuff, and it takes a while to do this. So, if you're serious and you wanna have a nice celebration, the planning needs to start. And, I can tell you the only thing that was recommended by the way of motion was to have the celebration in Carbondale. But, I mean, it's wide open to whatever we can create, whatever we can do, and throw some money at it, and it could be one big party.
Hey, Rick, what you're talking about is probably needs to be at the student center then, right?
Well, yeah, Right,
signs that.
you might be the student center, you might be Giant City, you might be the buildings, you might be organizing tours, you might be having a big cookout. I mean, you can't do that without reserving the stuff well ahead.
Wasn't the original in 1970 at Giant City when we became AGR?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be a nice way to go back to?
Yeah.
Maybe one thing too then, and maybe, I know most of you guys don't know this, but, in 1970, when we did become AGR, we also offered, not only offered, but we had been promising the Greeks, on campus that we would throw a party for everybody, and we did. We rented Bonaparte's Retreat, used to be Bonaparte's Retreat uptown. And if my old memory is certainly correct, we bought
33 half barrels.
33 half barrels of beer. We had a band, I think Penny Onovich's band was there. And the entire Greek system was there. And so it was we had been trying to become AGR for a number of years. We had a lot of roadblocks. It was a big deal. And I think after that, if they didn't know who we were before, they knew who we were after. And yeah, when they sobered up. But so it was a big thing on campus. It was a big thing in the area, and so I don't, just to kind of give you some background, that's kind of where we've come.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know about you, but I think we have one committee member for our 2020 planning for our Hippie
Gary, what did you say? You don't want to speak up too much.
But I do want to say, I was with an Alpha Gam last night, an old Alpha Gam.
Who was that?
And the local Alpha Gams get together once a month or something in this Carbondale area, and they were talking about AGR Founders Day.
Really?
They knew it was going on this week.
Cool.
Who's the game?
Mike Carr's wife.
Do they know where we're gonna be the night?
I don't know. There's a group that's still here, and they get together once a month, and they were talking about AGR. They knew all about it.
There you go.
Story, is there nothing you don't lay your hands on?
Wait, I have the napkin.
God. Isn't it great? My God,
Right
it's
here.
good.
This is the Alpha Gamma Rho napkin served at that dinner.
Holy mackerel.
There you go. Alpha Gamma Rho napkin.
We've seen it.
Yeah. Somebody's used napkin.
That is priceless.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The original invitation.
Yeah. Alright, well, anything else on? Alright, well, then I guess that no one else want to volunteer to committee or anything, alright. Move on to new business. Anything there? Got,
Yeah, would you?
check.
We haven't heard, we did get we wrote our proposals, to the chancellor saying that we were interested in moving back to Greek Grove. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but he's trying to get at least 4 organizations to move back on to Greek Grove. And, it's gonna be a 99-year lease, correct me if I'm wrong, if I say anything wrong. And then we're gonna be in charge of everything that goes on with the house, with construction, whether that be demolition and rebuilding or renovating. We turned in a proposal saying that we were interested. There was a lot of gray area. Nothing was set in stone. It was just us saying that we were ready to move forward if we found some more details. That was, Jake, was that last week or 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. We turned that into him, so he does have that, and we haven't heard anything back yet about it. So that's kind of the update right now.
There was some conversation last night, Brendan. Did any other sorority or fraternity submit? Do we know?
Not that I have heard of.
Jake, do we know?
I heard a couple were thinking about it. I don't think anybody has submitted.
Farmhouse being one of those that did say they were thinking about it too, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Before you get too deep into signing things with the university or the state of Illinois, as it'll actually be, get yourself a damn good legal representation.
Oh, this was nothing, this was just a letter saying that we wanna know more details. This was nothing.
Yeah, well, you could sign one of those and you can get bitten.
Yeah, of course, that was one of the biggest things I found out when concerned me was that, you know, they have their house finally, we have a house, but they don't own the property. So they can't expand on that one. And I thought that you should, before you do anything else, somehow be able to give you more leverage. So if you wanted to expand that one, you know, if you had to get lawyers, you know, get something that's not connected politically, you know, get that first, and then you have something to bargain with about the other thing, getting better.
The current location is a rental.
Oh, it's a rent.
Yes.
You don't own the house?
No.
Okay, I know.
We work, that owns it, we work very well.
Yeah,
It's working out good for the time being.
Coming away, it's
Yep.
small, but it
Yep.
seemed like had a good atmosphere there and stuff, so, but probably should get these twenty, or more, something flexible. I said university thing, I don't know, as you said, as he said, the lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, you being Abraham, you know, somebody that's not really as national as people think, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the first things you wanna look at is you're gonna end up with a triple net lease. And you don't own the property, you may own the building, but you're gonna have to hire an architect to put it up. And you'll probably have to hire a second architect who will be employed by the university to pay his salary. Okay. The third thing you wanna look at real quick is that that's a private residence on a piece of state of Illinois property. Jackson County may come and say, hey, we want $10,000 or $15,000 worth of real estate taxes every year. You want to be careful, and if you're ever gonna read the fine print, this would be a good time to start.
Yes.
When was that voted on at some point?
Yes, that was, kinda discussed heavily in a board meeting, a conference call board meeting, and then, so Tip, one of us did a proposal to get actual more information out of them, more or less just for our own knowledge to present.
The chancellor basically said he wants four, a minimum of four. If he can't get four, then he's not going forward. So the initial was to see what the interest level was. That's where this started, and that's all it was at this point. To see, we wanted to get our name in there as at least an interest, and then if it went further than that, if he got his four and there was enough interest, we would go further to see what was involved.
So it is more of a fact finding more than, yes, we're going to commit this. That's all it really was. Alright, any other new business needs to be brought up? Alright, let's move on to the nominations and election.
Okay, our bylaws, now allow for, the president to be, serving 2 terms. Richard has served 1 term as your president of the Alumni, so he's eligible to serve a 2nd term. The board asked him if he was interested, and he said yes, so that's why on your sheet, Richard is nominated there. You can have other nominations, if you so speak, which he'll ask for. The second thing is, We have Andrew Gunter, whose term is expiring on the board. Richard, actually, your term is expiring also, but you're the president, so that kind of knocks that out. And the other one is Jake Holdcamp, who came in to serve a one-year term while Richard was being president. So Jake was asked if he'd be interested in serving a full term, which is 3 years, and said yes. And then there was a nomination that came in from Tom Meyer for Dewey Grenner? Okay, for Dewey Grenner. So what you're addressing here is to elect your president for 18-19 and 2 board members.
Alright, so,
Are these both for 3-year terms?
Yes.
so is there any other nominations for, board president?
Move the nominations be closed.
Okay, second?
Second.
Alright, then, so, all those in favor of the current nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Alright, passes.
Congratulations.
Alright. And, is there any other nominations for board members other than the 2 that have been listed?
I will interject that Dewey couldn't be here today because he had a funeral to go to this morning in Nashville. He's gonna be here later on, be here tonight.
Yes.
Luke Zimmerman.
Okay. Luke Zimmerman.
Luke, okay.
Alright. So, any others? Alright.
Motion to close the floor.
Alright, is there a second?
Second.
Alright. It's been closed second, so now we got 3 candidates. Do we only have 2 positions?
Yes, we
All
only
right.
have 2 positions, so you're gonna need to have a show of hands, or I can make some paper here.
This guy, only one person is here. If you don't mind, step in the hallway. Unless you wanna speak.
I guess, I just graduated in December, kinda wanna stay. I was Alumni Relations, Social Chair. I'd like to, have a role, I guess you could say, on the board at least. I know me and Rick Story work, he contacts me quite a bit about a lot of information. So I'd just like to have somewhat of a role. It doesn't have to be president, but something like that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
As just a reminder, and Rick, I think I saw a list of things you might have. Could you just tell us who the composition of our board member in terms of year of graduation, just kind of think about age diversity here?
You mean between
Yeah, do you-
the whole board as a whole?
Yeah, the whole board, yeah.
Richard, well, I don't know all that detail, but your graduation,
It's 12.
2012?
Yep.
And let's see, Andrew's off. Rick, your graduation story?
Late 70s.
1978, okay. Todd Dugan is another board member.
Here's the PIN numbers if you need them.
Okay.
Okay, great. Oh, you.
There we go. Okay, thank you. Man, is he good or what?
I know he is.
Okay, there's your board.
So here's the board. Ken doesn't all fit, so let's go with.
So Andrew's
Well, not
going
very
on.
sure.
Ryan's off, that shouldn't be on there. Ryan should already be off. I apologize for that.
Oh,
That's my
alright.
fault.
So
Rick
Todd-
is pin 200. Todd is 839. Tom Meyer is 229. And Steve White is 57. And Jake is 841.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, step out real quick. Alright. So, basically, just do a simple show of hands, we'll count up here, you guys help me out. Is there any questions on any of them, other than showed up there?
Jake just stepped in to serve a one-year term, and so that he'd be, these two positions are three-year terms.
Two would be about the same.
Alright, show of hands out for a vote on Jake Holtkamp. One, raise them up, get high so I can see, please. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Alright.
Okay.
About the same? Okay, alright.
I'm not the only.
Then, show of hands for Dewey Gronit?
Grinner.
Granite, sorry. Horrible with names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Alright. 18.
Okay.
And then for,
Luke.
Yeah, Luke
Luke
Zimmerman.
Zimmerman.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Alright, he's over 18, not Tyrus Johnny.
Okay.
Yep. So, guess then that means the two new board members are gonna be,
The highest count would be Jake and Luke Zimmerman.
yeah, D.
Okay.
Alright, wanna go ahead and let him back in. Let him know. Alright, congratulations, you're on board now. We'll also let Jake know.
Hey Rick, I think I got the information, I get our file this updated board.
Oh, we'll get,
Yeah.
I'll get
Alright.
the list updated.
Okay,
That's
so I
right.
can do my state filing.
Alright, with that, need a motion to adjourn?
Is Rick gonna do it?
Oh,
I have one question. Who do I pay for tonight or whatever, that's, okay.
Could somebody tell us a little more detail, like, amount and who we paying?
that guy in the back.
55 a person, and there's 20 for lunch. Yeah, 20 for lunch.
Okay. Not the chapter, we're picking up the chapter.
Yes, that's correct.
Alright. And
We make this check to Beta Alpha chapter though, right, for ours?